Welcome back to Broken Electronics. I'm Lee, and as always, it's great to spend some time with you today. Now, what we're going to do today, take a bit of a break, for a while anyway, from Powermac G5s. And we're going to focus today on an interesting computer, the Powermac G4 Quicksilver, going back to 2002. I'm particularly fond of this machine. Back before the fire destroyed my home, I had a Quicksilver, and I used it a lot. Now, this was, I'm talking 10 years ago probably, but I used that machine very frequently, and it was a very, very serviceable machine at that point. And it still is. I've done upgrades on it already. Actually, quite a few. Most notably, upgrading the processor. Probably one of the biggest processor upgrades I've ever done on a computer, certainly on a Powermac. I took it from a 733 megahertz PowerPC G4 to a dual 1 gigahertz PowerPC G4, with the idea of making it the most powerful computer that I have that can boot into and run Mac OS 9. I do have a couple of MDDs, mirrored drive doors. One, the Firewire 800 variety, the first machine that came with Firewire 800 built in, which is in itself a very powerful computer, but it cannot boot into OS 9. Quicksilver can. Now, I'm not going to be doing that much in the way of upgrades. There were a couple of things I wanted to do, one of which was to upgrade the graphics card. It's got a 64 megabyte video RAM graphics card in there now, which is certainly serviceable. The machine works quite well. I wanted to try to upgrade that, but I had been unsuccessful in finding a graphics card. And before people start jumping in saying, get an AGP Windows computer, I really don't think I'm going to do that for the purpose of flashing one graphics card. There you go. Alright, so what am I going to do? The machine right now has got built-in USB 1.1 and Firewire 400. Now, I have, as part of the upgrades I've done to it in the past, put in a card adding a couple of additional Firewire 400 ports and USB 2.0, which has helped a lot. So, I have here a PCI card with one Firewire 400 port and two Firewire 800 ports, which should make a substantial difference. I'm very much looking forward to that. Now, once that's in, that's about the only real upgrade I'm going to do, but thinking about backup. Now, if you've looked at videos on this channel, you will know that I have a lot of PowerPC Macs. Most of them I don't back up because realistically, they're hobby machines and I don't keep data on there that's particularly critical. There up to now have been two exceptions to that. I do back up the Powermac G5 Quad because that's a very functional computer and I do use it quite a bit. And I back up my iMac G5, which again I also use quite a bit, and there is data on there that I would not want to lose. This computer I think needs backup because I do use it for OS 9 purposes quite a bit, and I do get things on there in OS 10. It has installations of Leopard and Tiger on there, both of which I will boot into and use for various things. So, I have here. This is an OWC Mercury hard drive enclosure. I have a number of those. I've got some on a couple of my Mac Pros, which I use for backup. I've got an Elite Pro on my Powermac that I use for backup. Those are in aluminum cases intended to resemble the Mac Pro Powermac G5 case generally. It's kind of cool. This actually was intended, you'll notice the acrylic casing around the outside. This was intended to match those beautiful G4 acrylic cases, going back to the G3 blue and white, of course, originally. So I intend to get this connected. It is a Firewire 800 connector, although you can't connect them to Firewire 400 by use of adapter cables. However, that's what's going to happen there. So that then is the plan, to get the Firewire 800 card installed and to get it going on backup. So I hope you'll find that of some interest, and if you do, please stay tuned. Well, I've got the camera propped up here on the tripod. I hope it doesn't fall over. This, of course, is the Quicksilver. Yeah, I've left this sticker on intentionally, as it says State of Washington, University of Washington. In its original life, this was clearly a university computer. I don't know if it was in a computer lab or an administrative computer, which is kind of what I'm expecting. In any event, the beauty of these machines, in terms of ease of working on them. I know I find Mac Pros easy to work on. I found the Powermac G5s, excuse me, pretty easy to work on. But this is just genius. Holding it down, the logic board is right here. Everything comes out. It's right in front of you. It's so beautiful. Just to cover some of the upgrades that have previously been done, you see the heatsink here covering the dual G4s. We've upgraded the RAM. Unfortunately, Apple only saw fit to give 3 slots, so 1.5 gigabytes is the maximum we can go. Well, there you go. I did do a graphics card upgrade to bring it to the 64 at any event, and it is, as I say, very functional with that. I believe it had 32 originally. Here's the PCI card, which has power, floppy disk power, splitting off from Molex, that has Firewire 400 and USB 2. It also has an internal Firewire 400 port. There are 2 drives in there. Here we have the IDE connected drive, and yeah, it's just loose in there because I found if I secure the thing down, when you close the door, things tend to disconnect and you lose the drive. So strange as it seems, it's actually best just to leave it loose in there. And then the Firewire Drive here, which is actually quite a bit faster than the IDE, is where the Leopard install is. So you've got Tiger and macOS 9, and then Leopard over here. It's got a zip drive. That was not an upgrade. This actually came with the zip drive. And one of these days I've got to get some zip disks just to just to do something with it. But I did upgrade the optical drive to a DVD burner, which does work, and that's a really good thing. Okay, so on to the upgrade itself. I'm going to actually put this in. Take the slot cover out. Midway between, the very lowest slot is where I've got the Firewire 400. I did that intentionally to make sure the power could reach easily. And of course the graphics card's got to go in the lone AGP slot, which is up there. So There we go. This is not a powered card, so you don't need to fuss with that. And that, my friends, is all there is to it. Yeah, like I said, these are just an absolute joy to work on. Okay, so now I've got to get the machine set up over in its corner there with the older Apple Cinema display. So please stay tuned. Well, I'm trying to use Screenium, which I have installed here in the Quicksilver. It doesn't behave itself well. The video gets very far ahead of the audio. The mouse clicks, it's funny, stay pretty much with the audio, but you'll see windows go flashing by. Sometimes they're slow enough to read, sometimes not. But I'm going to keep trying to use it. In any event, problems with the upgrades. We've got here, if you look over on the right, Leopard Firewire, that's the internal Firewire drive. There's an internal Firewire 400 port on a PCI card. Now, Tiger SSD, OS9 SSD, those are two partitions on the IDE attached drive for those two operating systems. All right. Conspicuously absent is what was supposed to be the backup drive. It is plugged in, it has power, the lights are on, it should be working, but we can't see it. Now, I've been trying to deal with this. I've taken that Firewire card out, I've put it into other slots, and I've tried several times to make this particular clip, but it's always a problem because of the speed. So, what you will see, and you may have to look quickly, would be in System Profiler, the PCI entry, which should show that there is a Firewire card on slot 2 of the PCI bank. And in the Firewire System Profiler entry, you should also therefore see that there is a Firewire 800 entry. And attached to that will be an unknown device. Now, whatever that might be, well, I think it's pretty much got to be the drive. It just won't mount. All right, so I'm going to do that. If we sit here for a while, we'll admire the dual 1 GHz PowerPC G4. All right, more info. And here we are with System Profiler. We'll go to PCI cards first. And you can see there's the second entry, Firewire on slot 2. All those entries on slot 5 are the one card, because you've got separate entries for the 3 USB 2 ports and one for the actually 3 Firewire ports on that card. Alright, and now under Firewire, and here we have it, Firewire bus, and you can see here maximum speed up to 800 megabytes a second. Oh, you've probably already seen it. And then the unknown device. Now what we can do is have a look in disk utility. And of course it isn't there. We have the Firewire drive listed up top, then the IDE connected drive, and finally the DVD burner, which I installed in an earlier video. Okay, so what am I going to do about this? I think about the only thing I can think of to try, since it's not the slots, it's possible that there's a defect in the card, or it's possible that since the card lacks power, that it may not be mounting. I really don't know, but I am going to set on eBay for a while and try to find another Firewire 800 card, preferably one that I can use Molex power with. And if we can do that, we'll see. If that doesn't work, then there's something else. All right. So it'll take a while for me to get that done, but of course you've got the magic of video editing here, so please stay tuned. Well, as the saying goes, when at first you don't succeed, etc., etc. This is the old Firewire 800 card. There was the one 400 port and two 800s, and that's the card itself. Here's the one just came in today. Different alignment, but similar. One 400 port on the right there and two 800s. It is, however, a full-length PCI card, which may be good, but of particular importance, floppy power. So I have connected already a Molex splitter with a floppy power adapter, which we can plug in. There we go. Oops. Well, I will fuss with this and get this inserted there. We'll be back momentarily. Stay tuned. And just to touch base, we did manage to get it in. Just took a little jockeying to get the top of the slot cover here. I think it was bent a little bit to actually lock in, but we seem secure. We have our floppy power in there. So now we just got to figure out, is it actually going to register that drive? So, once again, stay tuned. Well, Screenium continues to be greatly frustrating on the Quicksilver. It stopped reading the microphone. I did a test and it worked fine, but now I can record the screen, but I can't record any audio. But in any event, you can see here, Firewire data is the drive that I just connected. And you'll notice that it already has the Time Machine logo on it. And then here we can see that the initial backup is already running. In fact, it's been running for a little while now. I am timing that, so we'll get a reading for how fast that goes. I love seeing that dual 1 gigahertz PowerPC G4. Flipping ahead here. Taking a look in PCI cards, you see 2 entries for Firewire. Slot 4, that's the slot I just inserted the card into which I inserted the card, that is. And then slot 5, that's the Firewire 400 card, which is combined with USB 2, so there are 3 USB 2 entries. Each one gets its separate entry. Now, if we look in Firewire, we see 3 entries for Firewire. This is the built-in Firewire, Firewire 400. This is the card in slot 5, again, up to 400 megabits per second. And, I plugged a cord in there, but it's not connected to anything. Now, here we see up to 800 megabytes per second. And our IDE device, that's the drive. All right. So, this is going to take a while, but it's progressing pretty well. Being able to back up at Firewire 800 speeds is way better than backing up at Firewire 400 speeds. Not anything like that eSATA connection on the G5 Quad. Well, in order to get the summation as to how this backup worked out, please stay tuned. Well, the final count here, 2 hours, 10 minutes, which I wouldn't think of as being that bad, except it wasn't quite that simple. What kept happening, it backed up a big chunk of it, close to 2/3, which would be the Leopard drive. That Leopard drive is attached via Firewire 400, an internal Firewire 400 port on the original Firewire 400/USB 2 card that I installed. So that backed up with no issue. Then when it started backing up the IDE connected SSD, which has 2 partitions, it kept unmounting. And I would have to restart the system, restart the backup. And I had to do that several times. Part of it, I think, may have been that I kept trying to do things while the backup was running. Ordinarily, that's not a problem, but, since this was touchy. So yeah, it ended up taking me most of the evening, and it is in fact beer o'clock now. Anyhow, it did finally complete, which is good. Now what I'll have to see is, what are the incremental backups like? If those run without issue, no problem, everything's backed up. Now, if it continues to be a problem, what I can do is simply exclude the Tiger and OS9 partitions entirely, and then just run backups on Leopard, which would be fine. I don't really care that much about Tiger. I don't boot into Tiger really at all. OS9 would be nice to be backed up, but I can finagle doing backups with Carbon Copy Cloner on that with no problem. So, for the most part, this has been a very successful upgrade. We got the Firewire 800 working, so we have reasonably fast data transfer on this machine. There are 2 Firewire 800 ports available, so we can easily go back and forth. And the cool thing, I finally got Screenium to work, as you may have guessed, by using the EyeSight camera. I think that's pretty cool, because we have now this complete period setup going back to the early 2000s. So I know if the picture-in-picture may not be the greatest quality. I don't know what the audio quality is going to be like with this built-in EyeSight microphone, but hey, it's a period experience anyway. So I guess that means we're going to wrap up the video now. So, be good to other people. Other people really deserve that and need it. Be good to yourselves. You deserve it and you need it. I know I do. Take very, very good and careful care in these difficult times. We've got a lot more videos coming up. There may be something more with this machine or more G4 content. a little bit of G5 content, and a lot of other stuff. So until that time, this has been Broken Electronics.